Hi everybody, welcome! Today I am making a cake for all the Pokemon Sword and Shield fans out there. When I saw the 3 starters, I immediately loved the adorable green monkey named Grookey and thought he would make a cute cake. Alright, let's get started. I have a round piece of modeling chocolate and I'm pressing it up under the board to create his chin. Moving on to the cake. As usual, I'm leveling and torting all my cakes. This one is a 6-inch round vanilla cake. Once I have it trimmed, I'm cutting a slit in it so that I can push it onto my stand. I'm brushing a dab of my American buttercream frosting onto my board and then I begin adding my first cake. I slide it into place and I add a layer of buttercream frosting. I wanted the cake to gradually become smaller towards the neck, so my next cake is a 5-inch round. And the final cake for his body will need trimmed down at an angle to create the tapered look towards the neck. I push the small cake into place and then I begin carving around the body. I started trimming it down at an angle and then I cut a flatter area where his belly is and I cut out the tops of his legs too. I lost a tiny bit of footage here, but here's what it looks like after the carving. Alright, now that I have his body finished, I'm going to work on his head. To build the head, I used 3 8-inch round cakes. If you're wondering why I have a cardboard in there, well, it's because I had initially added supports, but later thought I didn't need it, so I ended up taking it out. Now that my cakes are stacked, I begin rounding out the head. His head is pretty round, so both the top and the bottom need rounded out. I felt that the sides of his head needed bulked out a little, so I made some cake dough, which is the same as cake pop filling, and I'm pressing it onto the sides of the cake to widen the head. I added a little cake dough around the chin area to fill in that gap too. Now that I have a basic shape of Grookey, I'm completely covering it in white chocolate ganache. My ganache is a 3-to-1 ratio, meaning it has 3 parts of white chocolate to 1 part cream. Once I have it completely covered, I'm using a flexible plastic smoother to get it nice and smooth. This one is made by Innovative Sugarworks. I also went over it with a hot spatula. Next, I'm adding his snout, which I made out of cake dough. I stuck it onto his face with more ganache. I could have used a lollipop stick in there to help hold it up, but I skipped that part. I'm gently pressing the snout onto his face and I coated it in more ganache. Before I can put my fondant on, I'm lightly brushing the entire cake with piping gel. My fondant is actually a 50-50 mix of satin ice fondant and Hot Hands modeling chocolate. I've colored it green and now I'm rolling it out. Next, I drape it over my rolling pin and I place it onto my cake. I decided to cover him in panels, so I'm starting with the front of the face first. Once I have it unrolled onto my cake, I begin using the palm of my hand to smooth it out. You have to work fast so that it doesn't rip. It's a little wrinkly under the snout, but that's okay. Now that I have the front panel smooth, I'm cutting a straight line around the middle of the head, and I get rid of the excess fondant. I get my plastic smoother back out and I do the best I can to smooth it out. And I repeat the same process for the back of the head. I smooth it out, cut it, and then use my hands to blend that seam. His body is covered in the exact same way. Okay, let's move on to the face. I'm using a picture of Grookey that I found online. There are tons of them to choose from. You can even find 3D models of him. Using this as a template, I'm cutting the yellow part of his face out of a piece of fondant. I carefully put this piece onto his face, attaching it with some shortening. For his snout, I've cut out an orange fondant circle and I'm wrapping it all the way around his snout. Using a Dresden tool, I'm carefully pressing the little lines for his nose and also I'm drawing on his mouth. You have to do it slowly because once you scratch the surface, there is no fixing it. And I'm enhancing those markings by painting them with some black paint made by Sweet Sticks. Okay, moving on to the eyes. I'm doing these my normal way by using a printout from the internet, and I'm using it as a guide to cut out my fondant. These are the whites that I'm working on, and then I continue by cutting out the black pupil from my template, and I cut that out of my black fondant too. And the same for the white dots for the middle of the eyes. I'm assembling these with shortening. You don't want to use edible glue or water because you need the freedom to be able to move them around just in case you get them in the wrong spot. I'm getting these eyes into place using shortening again. I was really glad I used shortening because I moved the eyes around a bunch of times. Next up is Grookey's wooden stick. Using my hands, I'm rolling out a piece of modeling chocolate into the stick shape, and I flatten out the ends with my fingers, and then I put it aside to let it set up. On Grookey's head, he has 2 leaves sprouting out of the top, so I'm creating these out of a sheet of modeling chocolate, and I'm cutting it out freehand. And I used a modeling tool to press a line down the center of each leaf. Okay, next I'm attaching the stick with edible glue, and then I place the leaves right in front of the stick so that the stick can help hold the leaves into place. To keep the stick from losing its shape, I'm tucking some folded up paper towels underneath it. The ears are up next, and I'm hand modeling these out of my Hot Hands modeling chocolate. It's basically a triangle shape, and I'm using a sugar shaper to press a curved line in the center. Once I've shaped the ears, I'm pushing a lollipop stick into the ears, and I push those into the side of the cake, and I secure it with more edible glue. We have just a few more details to go. I've already completed the front feet, and real quick, I'm going to show you how the back of the feet were made. I'm starting with some fondant, and I'm shaping them into the foot shape. And using my X-Acto knife, I'm cutting out the toes. I went ahead and cut off the back so that I could tuck it up against the back leg. For his arms, I'm using the leftover green fondant, and I'm covering the bottom section with a piece of orange. I know people hate big pieces of fondant, but it looks really cute and you can easily take it right off before serving. I'm attaching the arms and feet to the cake. He's starting to look so cute now. To make the tail, I'm using brown modeling chocolate. I'm rolling it into a log shape. Then I'm cutting a slit right down the center, and I place it onto my wire. Once I have it into place, I'm smoothing it out with my plastic smoother. I love making this coconut grass. It is so easy to make. All you have to do is chop up the coconut and sprinkle in some green, brown, and yellow airbrush color and get that all mixed up with your hands. Once it's all mixed, I cover my board in melted green candy melts, and then I sprinkle my coconut onto the board. This is really one of my favorite ways to cover a board. The final detail is attaching a pretty green ribbon around the board. And there we have it, the cutest green monkey I've ever seen. Thank you all for watching. If you have any ideas for me, please let me know down in the comments section. Alright, I'll see you guys next time. Bye!